America is in the middle of a new war. No, we've not started bombing a new terrorist organization in the Middle East. We've not attacked China, Russia, North Korea. None of those things that you're immediately thinking about. So if we haven't went to war with any of these, you're probably asking, what war am I talking about? I'm talking about the culture war that is currently happening in the United States. I'm your host, Jared Dyson, and this is the Closet Conservative Podcast. America has always had cultural disagreements, so those are nothing new to our day. The battle over what is moral and acceptable has long been waged in our country. Yet the culture war that is currently taking place, it is significantly different. Now, let me start out first saying, I am in no way, shape, or form advocating for another civil war. Others in the public arena have come out and said that they feel like America is headed toward another civil war. We do not know what the future holds, but I do know that we are as divided as we have ever been culturally. Many would cite that our current culture war dates back to the 60s. Some leaders would try to say that this ties directly back to Christianity, values being removed from schools and public areas during that time period. I do believe that some of those events may contribute to the culture war that is taking place, but I am not sure that the current culture war is a continuation of those events. Let me take that a little bit further and explain. Most of the current culture war that's taking place in our country started during the Obama administration. Now, some of you are going to quickly jump on that bandwagon and say, yes, he's blaming Obama for all of our problems in this current culture war. I'm actually not laying all that blame entirely on him. I think there's several things that must be considered when we think about this current culture war, and one person can't be fully responsible. Actions Obama took during his terms in office, they certainly promoted the culture war. For example, he started early in his administration holding that infamous beer summit between a white police officer and a black professor. While he touted this as a means to try to help bridge the racial divide, it actually continued to cause a racial divide. So there's a lot of other causes behind this current culture war that's taking place that I really want to take a look at. Much of the legislation that was passed in Obama's first term really helped lay the foundation for the culture war to start. From the healthcare bill, the hate crime bill, the don't ask, don't tell policy, and many more, a lot of societal norms were changed. And a lot of societal norms were challenged. Just as in the 60s, things that Americans considered normal were no longer normal. For example, it would have been perfectly normal to have had prayer in school in the 50s, but that quickly changed in the 60s. While Obama and the Democratic Congress gave rights to homosexuals and other special interest groups, they neglected the feelings of the religious base and a lot of those independents in America. I want you to stay with me though. I'm not saying that protections against hate crimes is a bad thing. I am never advocating for discrimination or hate in any way, shape, or form. But I don't want to lose the sight of the main points over this small detail. No one ever deserves to be discriminated against. No one should ever be forced to go against their faith or beliefs to accept something that is not normal in society either. Back to the main topic, other events such as the Trayvon Martin shooting, the support of gay marriage, the Sandy Hook shooting, the Boston Marathon bombing, Black Lives Matter was a big contributor, and I even think about Obama's climate change strategy. All of those things helped feed this culture war that's currently taking place in our country. These events led to a continued cultural divide. It led to distrust in the police. It led to distrust in white Americans. It led to distrust in gun owners. Rather than laying the blame on one specific group of people or one specific person that's at fault, the Democrats decided to lump everyone together and create this culture war, to create this social divide that we see. They told Black Lives Matter that their view was right and that they were being discriminated against. Americans were told police were corrupt and that all police were bad. Occasionally there are a few police officers that go rogue and they cause issues, but not all police are bad. The overwhelming majority have good faith intentions to protect and to serve our communities. Democrats said that anyone who cannot believe that way that we do is morally inept. I mean, it's easy to see where this creates further divide. While it may have started, and I fully believe it started with some of these decisions during that Obama administration, there have been no attempts to stop or slow it since. You ask me what I mean? Democrats have continued to use the divisive rhetoric that started back in the Obama administration. Since Trump took office, we see that there's a lot of blame placed on people of a conservative background and a conservative nature regarding climate change. I mean, you think about it, if you really want to look at it, Al Gore predicted in 2006 that the world would end in 2016. So Please forgive me if I'm a little bit skeptical of the 12-year declaration that AOC and these Green New Deal Democrats are trying to make. But if you disagree with these Democrats on climate change and that the world is coming to an end, you're part of the problem. Not that you have a different viewpoint, but you're part of the problem in America. Now listen, I am all for doing things to protect our environment, but it just doesn't make sense to me to spend trillions of dollars on a program that will take us back almost 50 years in advancements. First of all, I personally enjoy a good steak, so I'm going to need those cow farts to keep coming. I absolutely love the sights all around this beautiful country of ours. So I need those airplanes to continue to fly through the air to get me to those places that I may not want to spend 2 weeks driving to. But it doesn't stop there. Democrats have continued to attack gun owners, not specifically the gun owners that kill people, but anyone that owns a gun. I mean, it's almost like if you own a gun, you touch a gun, you've thought about a gun, it's a horrible thing. You're a horrible person. If you're a gun owner, a gun manufacturer, an ammunition manufacturer, immediately you're under attack. They're not concerned that people die by other means. They're simply concerned that guns are bad. We've seen corporations come under attack for selling firearms to legal gun owners. The NRA is being attacked for advocating for safe firearm training and education. They're fighting for firearms rights and responsible ownership, but they're being attacked. Why? Because they relate with a gun. No thought is given to the thousands that successfully protect themselves each year with a firearm. I mean, I think back to the recent story just a couple weeks ago where a mother in Florida protected her family with a firearm from an intruder. But they've successfully created a culture where there is significant division about firearms. Obviously, we've talked about this on the podcast in the past, that the culture war is extended to discussions about abortion. America is truly split about abortion, but Democrats have decided the best way to attack it is to introduce it into this culture war and bring it in as a dividing point for our nation. They claim that it's a war for women's rights and a war for women's health care. They claim that they're a party of rights and they're just simply fighting for those rights, but they're not fighting for the one right, that unalienable right that our founding fathers claimed in our Declaration. It says that there's the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it's certainly hard to pursue liberty and happiness without the general consensus of life. Life should not be considered something that is simply an inconvenience, but that party that is over there on the left that's claiming to fight for rights, it's simply not concerned with the rights and the rights of that child to be able to live. They've also proven that they really don't care about your rights to practice religion. I mean, if your religion stands against abortion, homosexual marriage, or anything else that's part of their clique items that they're going after, you shouldn't be allowed to practice that religion. I don't agree with homosexual marriage or abortion, but I have friends that are homosexuals. I have friends that have had abortions. We know how each other feels about those situations. Just because I practice a religion and I have the belief that disagrees with those two items, it doesn't mean that I have any less respect for them as a human being or that I would treat them differently. I should receive that same respect and courtesy in return. My religion should not be outlawed or banned, as Democrats have suggested, just because I disagree with things they would like to have. But in 2020, we have candidates that are telling the culture of America that if my Christianity does not agree with their lifestyle choices, that I'm not a real Christian and that we should ban my religion and I shouldn't be allowed to practice my religion. I would expect that we have disagreements or disputes on things in society. I mean, that's been something we've had in our country for centuries now. The problem is that these current culture wars go so much further than just simple disagreements. Think about how stupid some of these culture wars have become in recent years. We have the left that is promoting boycotts of a Chick-fil-A restaurant because they donate to Christian organizations that supposedly stand against LGBTQ initiatives. They have no proof of this, but they're going to discriminate against them anyway. They openly claim they don't agree with it, so you've got to boycott it, even though these organizations are out here actually making a difference in society and including those LGBTQ members as part of those that are receiving the benefit. You have situations in which Walmart, who has a store in nearly every town in America, it seems, pulls firearm sales because the left says that guns are bad. A few people make a bad decision, so we're going to punish all of society by creating this culture war. But it gets even more absurd. I mean, if you really think about some of the current things that have happened here recently, you got the situation of Colin Kaepernick, who the left has claimed has been discriminated against for years now. Colin Kaepernick has decried violence in all these communities, all these situations. So, the NFL decides to set up a workout for him, but that's not good enough because It wasn't under his terms and conditions. So at the last minute, he decides to cancel and move that workout to another location. And basically, he's proclaiming himself a martyr for some type of rights that he claims that he should be entitled to. You know, the way I see it, he has the right to be an NFL player if he wants, or he has the right to be an absolute moron. Apparently, he made the decision to be a moron because he had the opportunity to be an NFL quarterback, but he decided to go into this culture war instead. The left is going to cry that this situation is unfair. I'm sorry, he was given an opportunity thousands of other people would love to have had, but he wasn't interested in being a quarterback. He was more interested in taking a place in this big culture war that the left is waging in our country. Another absurdity is this high school district that recently voted to allow a boy to change in the girls' changing room. You know, I saw news articles, I saw the videos. I mean, the girls that they interviewed, the one girl in particular was absolutely in tears. She was in tears because she knew this meant that the school district had no objection to the fact that they were going to force her to change clothes in front of a boy. If you don't see the problem with that, I don't know what's wrong with you. The left is claiming this is a win of rights for someone of the trans community. I'm sorry, that person is a boy. I don't care what he claims he is. I don't care what he likes to say in public. He is a male. He was born male. He is biologically a male. It is insane that we're even having the conversation that gender identity supersedes actual gender. It's crazy to think that however you feel is more important than what you actually are. But it's just more of this virtual reality that the left is living in. I mean, just speech in general is part of this culture war now. If you disagree with anyone or anything on the left, then you are contributing to hate speech. I mean, you should be canceled or censored. I've had that happen to me as part of the Closet Conservative. I contributed to hate speech because I expressed disagreement with something that the left wanted. So my YouTube channel for the Closet Conservative was canceled. The cancel culture that has struck our society as part of this culture war, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't care that someone disagrees with me. I mean, as a listener, you're not always going to agree with what I have to say. You're not always going to agree with the positions I have in my articles or my statements that I may write. Yet, we probably find some things we agree on. But this is not allowed in the culture war. I mean, if someone is against the causes of the left, you're not allowed. You should be canceled. You should be censored. Never allowed to speak out in public again. Music, business, sports, and anything in between is being forced to take sides. I've talked about it before. We have no areas of life that are absent from politics anymore. The left will make statements. If you don't agree with our social causes, don't come to our ball games. Don't let your kids participate in the marching band, or they've even got to the point where now they're saying just don't even attend our churches. If we do not find some method to either end or control this culture war, the divide is going to get even worse. I have a lot of concerns for future generations. Do I believe that we're getting ready to start a civil war? No. I don't think that anyone's ready to take up arms tomorrow to fight a civil war, but I am concerned that it could continue to be a possibility if we don't find a way to bridge this cultural divide in some manner. There is not one person that is perfect. There's no perfect party, and there's no perfect social or political position. We're always going to have disagreements. The left has to move beyond painting everyone as evil that does not agree with a liberal position. In the end, the culture war that is taking place, it has the ability to dramatically change our country.
This is the Closet Conservative Podcast. All material copyright The Closet Conservative. Music courtesy of Greg Shields Music. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to receive all the latest episodes. We can also be found online at closetconservative.net or on Facebook and Twitter.